Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Business Accelerator. Well, first of all, just wanted to say, I haven't been on here for a little while purely because I've had a little bit of a family break. So, it's always nice to have like time for reflections. But I'm back, I'm ready, I'm pumped, and I'm ready to pour into your glasses as ever. So today, I really kind of wanted to take this opportunity to talk to you guys a little bit about strategy because it's interesting. And even though I've been away for a little bit, I've been working here and there. And it's been interesting just to listen to people's conversations around, especially going into sort of the new year or again, depending on when you're listening to this episode, of course, um, is really gonna I really wanted to talk a little bit about strategy more than more than anything else. Is talking a little bit about how do you create an actual strategy. So, being a business strategist myself, um, I find that through a lot of conversations where a lot of people get stuck and where a lot of people kind of like go through times of confusion is generally because they haven't created the right strategy that works for them. Does that make sense? And so, what I wanted to do is I wanted to give you kind of five predetermined reasons or five predetermined things that you need in order to create that right strategy, if that makes sense. But before we get started, do me a favor, give us a like, share, a comment in the comment section below. It'd be super appreciated. And if you're listening to me live, use the hashtag live, use the hashtag replay. That'd be super awesome. In fact, we've got a few comments coming in down now. I'm doing well, whoever that is, Mr. Strong. It's always good to see people coming on to the live stream today. So I wanted to talk to you guys, as I said to you guys, I wanted to talk to you guys very much specifically about strategy. So let's talk a little bit about strategy. And this is the reasons why a lot of people get stuck is number one is there is generally a lack of clarity surrounding what the strategy is or what you want to achieve. But the first thing that we need to really predetermine everything is a belief system. So it doesn't matter if for example, if you came to me, and because I obviously used to be an ex-athlete, I know how to obviously run marathons at fast times, right? So if you came to me and said, "Hey, Adam, I'd love for you to be able to create a strategy in order to me to be able to run the fastest time possible in under 3 hours for a marathon," or if you ask me, "Hey, Adam, would it be possible if you could give me a business strategy to help me to get to, I don't know, 7 figures," right? I know how to do it. Okay. But without the belief system, right, which is the basic foundations, if you don't have that basic foundation, that belief system in place, it's never going to work. It just simply is not going to work. So you've got to make sure that you've got a belief system. So that means that you believe in yourself, right? You believe in yourself in terms of like what you stand for. But number two, you believe in what you actually offer the world in terms of your product and your service, right? Because if you don't believe in what you offer, then how are your clients and customers ever going to believe what you're trying to sell to them? It's not going to work. There's going to be a disconnection between between what you say and what you do. Does that make sense? There's a complete incongruence of what you're actually saying. So that's the first thing is to think about what is the belief system, right? How are you going to engage in the belief system? So if you don't have the belief system in place, if you don't believe in yourself and you don't believe in what you actually offer, you need to go back to basics. Okay. Mindset's super important because if you lack confidence, if you don't believe in yourself, then simply again, like as I mentioned to you, there's going to be a real disconnect. Your clients and your customers and your audience are going to feel that, right? They're going to feel that there's a disconnect in the energy that you're putting out to the universe, if that makes sense. So that's the first thing. Go out, get your belief system sorted and fixed. So that's the first thing. Secondly, when it comes to strategy, is when it comes to thinking about when you go through times of frustration, it's generally because you've been working in the trenches, right? And most people that work in the trenches, normally they work operationally, if that makes sense. Okay. So they work operationally. Okay. And what that does is it actually switches your awareness off, because you end up getting bogged down with the day-to-day operations of the business, right? And the big problem with that is then it switches your self-awareness off, and then it's really difficult to get kind of like a bird's eye perspective of what should and shouldn't be happening, if that makes sense. So for example, and this is the reason why, I talk about the importance of mentoring and coaching, is that if you have someone from outside to give you that influence and that different, different perspective, then it will help you to create more awareness of what you're doing on a day-to-day basis to make your company or your business more streamlined and efficient, if that makes sense. So that's the second part, right? So clarity, going back to, the third part is vision. Like, what is the vision for, what you're doing? And, it's interesting how one of the first questions I ask when I get onto a call with a prospect, for example, I ask them, I say to them right at the very beginning, tell me, what is your vision? And most people won't know the answer, or they'll give me a very kind of like short answer, or they're just not quite sure about what really vision is, right? Because again, if I speak to different entrepreneurs, they'll have a different answer for what a vision is. But let me tell you my version of a vision. A vision is basically, what is the legacy that you want to create in terms of the work that you do? Okay, so what is the big legacy piece around that? What is your purpose? What is the vision based on the work that you're doing right now? Okay, so what you're doing right now, how does it look like in 10, 20, 50 years down the line, right? How do you want to make people feel? Okay, so that's really super important, is to go back to, how do you want to make people feel? Okay, so how do you want to make people feel in terms of like what you offer? Okay, how do you want to make people feel in terms of like, your I was going to say to you, in terms of like, how you show up in the world? Does that make sense? Think of the legacy piece surrounding exactly, you know, of all, if you weren't on the earth today, right? Or if you passed away, or in 50 years time, if you're not around, or whatever it is, what is the legacy piece? Okay. And a lot of people really kind of disconnect that, right? Again, this is basic stuff, right? Thinking about, the legacy piece. That's tip number 3. Okay. Tip number 4, when it comes to strategy, is to think about, what are the objectives of the business? Like, what are the things that you want to achieve? And I'm not just talking about financial, for example, if you are turning over 200 grand, for example, and you want to increase the business by 20%, great. But there has to be a strategy based around that. Does that make sense? So it's looking at, for example, what are the day-to-day activities that you're doing, which is getting you to that predetermined goal. Does that make sense? So, and I always talk a little bit about, what are the activities that you're doing on a day-to-day basis right now, okay, that one is working. Okay, so it amazes me about people that are trying to do activities or trying to reinvent the wheel. When something is already working, why would you try to reinvent the wheel, okay, when you can actually just double down and focus on one specific type of strategy, if that makes sense? So it was interesting. I was actually speaking with a lady in the HR organization or field, should we say. And it was interesting because one of the things that we were trying to outline is that she was really frustrated, etc., etc. And the big challenge for her was to really she came up with all these different ideas about how she could grow the company to 500,000, etc. But I was like, tell me about your revenue models, right? Tell me about how the business makes money. And she gave, and I said to her, I was like, so what are the top ones that really work for you? Like, what are the big income earners? Well, this area, for example, really worked for us. And I believe it was in the Consult Insider stuff. That really worked for her as one of our biggest fee earners. Yet she was trying to focus on another area of the business, which was not really giving her enough revenue. So I said to her, I was like, why don't you just park the second idea and double down on what's really working? That's going to help you get to your revenue targets much, much quicker. So that's really important, is again about creating this kind of awareness about what's working and what's not working in your business. Is I feel like it's really over, it's really what's the word I was looking for? It's easily done when it can just kind of pass you by without kind of like, again, being self-aware about what's really working and what's not working. So that's tip number 4, right? And then tip number 5 is to consistently not just create a strategy once a year. So, for example, a lot of business owners, what they do, especially entrepreneurs, is during the Christmas period and the New Year period, what they'll do is they'll plan for 23. What you guys need to be doing is you really need to be planning a minimum, an absolute bare minimum, 3 to 6 months in advance. So what are the activities? What are the objectives? What are the goals, for example? What is the benefits? Okay. How does that help you achieve your vision? Okay. And, to really kind of like really get yourself into the future rather than kind of living in the present or in the past, if that makes sense. So your goal really as an entrepreneur and a business owner is to get yourself into the future. It's to come up with new ideas, to come up with new revenue models, to come up with new ideologies that will help you to grow your business at the end of the day. That is your purpose. Okay. I wanted to lay the ground here, throw the gauntlet in, and that's what I really wanted to say with you guys today. Anyway, listen, I want you to just quickly jump on here really, really quickly. If you liked what I was been saying about today, do me a favor where I put, we've got a great Telegram group going. It's in its infancy. But if I was going to say to you, it'd be great if you guys are on Telegram, please come and join us on Telegram. We're going to start using that channel to really drive in some great free content in there, of course. And for you guys that are listening to me live, do me a favor, #like, #replay. That'd be super awesome. And also, what I was going to say to you, if you haven't had the opportunity to, this week, actually, we've got episode 191 on the Game Changers Experience. I would love to hear from you guys with regards to the types of content that you would love to hear from myself with regards to, what is it that you're trying to get done? What information would you like? And again, if you had this opportunity to maybe have a Q&A session or whatever it is, what are some of the content that you'd like me to be able to cover? I mean, listen, I cover a lot of topics and subjects anyway. It's all good. Listen, use the comments in the comment section box. I know that we're streaming through LinkedIn, Facebook, and also on YouTube. If you're listening to this on the podcast, I'll put all your show notes below. And please do get in touch with me at hello@adamstrong.net. hello@adamstrong.net. Listen, enough from me. Hope you have a great day, week, month, whenever you listen to this. And I hope today's episode has been awesome. Take care, and we'll see you soon. Cheers.